Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Sunday Share, and welcome to the new feature on the Sunday Share, the little question and answer session that I thought might be good to put in here just to kind of mix things up a little bit. Got some great questions this week. I won't answer all of them. I may save some of those for next week. They were so good. But in the interest of time, I'm going to choose two questions this week and answer those. One question is about my experience on the Way of St. James, the Camino de Santiago. And the other question is about the geography of the region that I live in here in Arkansas. So let's talk about the Camino question first. And the Camino question came from Kenny Fields, who I think lives in Memphis now. And the question was, talk a little bit about your experience on the Camino from three perspectives: physically, emotionally, and mentally. Maybe I can get those straight. Physically is easy. I remember one day in particular, it took me 40 days to walk the Camino, and it's probably somewhere around day 36. I had gotten a case of tendonitis that was so bad it was difficult just to take a step forward. And I remember kind of just pulling to the side of the road, having a seat kind of down on the ground, and look down at my shins. And the tendonitis had become so bad they were hemorrhaging. They were actually turning black. My shins looked as if they were bruised, as if someone had taken a hammer and just beaten on my shins. And honestly, that's a pretty good description of the way it felt too. So that was a physical challenge on the Camino. A day that I remember just from a mental aspect of it. I will never forget the day, the morning that my driver delivered me to Saint Jean Pied de Port. I was only walking about 5 or 6 miles on that first day to a little village called Honto, and didn't really need to. It didn't open until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so I spent the early morning up until about noon just kind of walking and strolling around Saint Jean. And I remember the reality of being there after 2 or 3 years of thinking about pilgrimage and watching the way countless times, and actually being in a place where I was about to make that first step on an adventure to really try to figure out where the rest of my life was headed, was both surreal and both extremely exhilarating, and a really proud day in my life. I had no idea what was ahead, but it was a really exciting moment just being there on that first day. So that's physical, that's mental, and emotionally, I think I would have to point to the day when Naomi and Aida and I walked through a whiteout blizzard for at least a good 6 hours until we descended out of the elevation, out of that storm. And I had a pair of shorts and nothing else, and it was really, really cold that day. And the three of us, we just sucked it up, and we made that walk, and I'm getting emotional just kind of thinking about it. I believe it was Tracastella that we walked into at the end of that day. It actually got warmed up. The sun was shining. We had a great meal at the conclusion of that day, and just the fact that together we had pulled through that experience. No one's life was ever in danger or anything like that. But it is a day that I will always remember, kind of a milestone day in my life, when I reflect back on that day and think, if I can do that, I can get through this meeting that's scheduled at 3 o'clock this afternoon. So I hope that answers that question, Kenny, and thanks for asking it. The other comes from my friend Brian Crothers in California, who just asks about the geology of the region here in Mountain View, Arkansas. Gosh, Brian, you're the geology expert, and I don't even know that I can speak that language very well, but I love the Ozarks because it's so much different than where I grew up in the flatlands of the Delta, where the elevation is not more than 203 to 205 feet at any given place. And it's not like here. I mean, they call these mountains. I don't know whether they're mountains or hills. Compared to other places in the country, 1,000 feet in elevation, which is about where we max out here, is not that big a deal. But it is beautiful country, rolling small mountains or large hills, whatever you want to call it. The seasons are very distinct with all the variety of trees that are here. It's not Maine or Vermont spectacular, but it's pretty beautiful. So we see the season, we see a distinct change in the seasons from spring to summer to fall to winter. We are still as most of the country here is, in the Mississippi River Basin, where the White River, which is in my front yard, the Arkansas River and the Black River and the St. Francis River all feed into the Mississippi at some point further down south. And one interesting feature that I have yet to explore, and maybe you and I will have to do that one day, is that these small mountains that are through this territory, many of them, I've spoken to employees at the National Forest Service. They say many of them are said to have, they're really just caves. They call them rooms inside those mountains. In fact, a Forest Service employee told me the other day that an underground room, had been discovered here in the Round Bottom area where I live. And it's also interesting that just about 15 miles down the road is it's not a national park, but it's nationally federally operated. A place called Blanchard Springs Caverns, which is an underground caverns system, second in size only to Carlsbad. And you would very much enjoy seeing this place. I've been there once. I think you descend about 700-800 feet down into the ground into the spectacular cave with all the stalactites and stalagmites, and it's just, it's amazing. But it's beautiful country. I love it, and I think I have found a new place to call home. Appreciate you guys' questions this week. Thanks for reading, and thanks for viewing the Sunday Share, and see you next week. Bye-bye.